Are you tired of being around people who just don't get you? Have you been putting yourself out there but not able to find anybody that matches your vibe? You're not alone. Making friends, especially as an adult, is hard. My name's Coach Lee. I'm a social connections coach, and I want to help you find your tribe. I have a 3-step coaching program for groups and individuals that's designed to help you get to the right place, to meet the right people, to have the right kind of conversations that leave you feeling fulfilled, appreciated, and understood. After going through the Find Your Tribe coaching program, you'll discover who it is that you really want to be connected to, how to find those people, and what you need to talk about so that your relationship moves from an acquaintanceship to a close friendship. And with this program, you won't be on this journey alone. You'll have access to a private community in which there are others who are just as intentional about making the kind of connections you are. You'll also have access to live events like weekly Q&As, speed friending, and much more. You'll be able to practice your skills in a safe environment and feel confident to connect authentically when you get out into the real world. If you're ready to get started on making meaningful connections and lasting relationships, then apply to the coaching program by using the link in the show notes. Hey, what's going on? My name's Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and you're listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you replace harmful patterns with new possibilities. In each episode, we'll explore topics that inspire you to be yourself, live your truth, and make lasting connections. In this episode, we're going to explore how to tell somebody to stop asking you for advice when they're not going to use it. Have you been there before? Somebody's constantly asking you, what would you do? What can I do? How should I feel? And then you spend the time and energy to figure it out, and they just discard it? Oof. That's awful. We're going to talk about what to do when you're in that situation and how to get them to stop asking you. Are you ready? Let's go. Have you ever heard of the term asshole? A-S-K hole. An asshole is a person who wastes other people's time by asking lots of pointless or insensitive questions. As you might have already guessed, it comes from the term asshole. And it roughly means an asshole who asks a lot of annoying questions. An asshole. Are you that? Do you have a friend that is that? Now, I know this is pretty harsh when you want to describe a person who should be your friend, but man, is it frustrating to have somebody constantly dismiss your advice. And it's not that you even go to them and you say, hey, I've got some great advice for you. Here's all the things that you need to do to change your life because I'm so much better than you. No. That's not what assholes do. They actually come to you. They ask you. They take your time, energy, and focus, direct it on the problem that they have, and then when you give them that advice, when your brain and synapses start firing off to figure out how you can support them, that empathy and caring that you have for that person kicks in, and you try your darndest to figure out an answer for them. They take that answer and they throw it right in the trash. Gone. Garbage. Flush it down the toilet. They came to you for your support and help. You give it to them because you care about them as an individual. You think that you're doing something valuable and helpful for them, and they trash it. What even is that? If you're not outraged by this, what are you doing? If you're not outraged, are you paying attention? This is awful. This doesn't feel good, especially because you really want to help your friend. It's hard to watch somebody ask for your advice and your input. You give it, and they discard it and go back to the same harmful situation that they were in before. And then they come back to you another time because assholes are people who continue to do this over and over again. They come back again and they ask you for more advice. and you might give them more advice. You might give them more input. I used to have a friend who did this to me, and I called them out on it. This is what I would recommend for you to do too, is to call them out, because maybe you don't have the exact answer that it is that they're looking for, but they absolutely just discarded it and pretended like I didn't say anything at all. And spoiler alert, the friendship ended because they weren't able to stop, and I didn't appreciate that. So I figured, well, there's nothing else that we talk about, so it must mean that there's nothing else really here for us to do. There's no reason for us to be talking to each other. So I really want to tell you about what I did, and I'm not trying to end your relationship, but the thing is that you want to alleviate yourself from being disregarded. In a sense, you're constantly being rejected. They ask you for something and they reject it. They ask you and they reject it. They ask you and they reject it. If you're frustrated, it's because of that. If you hadn't noticed that somebody's not taking your advice, pay attention. And the thing that I want you to do is not talk about them to other people, but of course talk to them about the situation. So what I want to do is recommend that you take these series of steps to alleviate this. At least let your feelings be known, because that's the key to everything. All the stuff I talk about is basically letting your friend or whoever you're talking to know how you feel in the clearest, most possible, non-threatening, concise way. This is what we always do. So the device to do this is to point out the behavior. So that's what I did. I pointed out the behavior. So I looked at a specific scenario that I could come up with, and I talked about what happened there. Like, hey, you came to me because you needed help with your website. And I created all these templates for you, and I gave you really great suggestions, and you didn't implement any of them. You didn't implement any of them. You said that you weren't getting any people coming to your website, and I suggested you do all these things, and you didn't take any of that in consideration. And not only did you not take that into consideration, you didn't even talk to me about why you didn't. And then a week later, you came back saying that you had a problem with your website and you needed help. So that's it right there. Just basically describing a scenario. So if you can point out the specific behaviors, and that helps us create focus in our conversation. All right. So focus. Now we have our scenario. We have our topic. We have our point of reference. And then you want to say how you feel about it. I feel dismissed, like you don't care about what I have to say. You don't need to make it long. I encourage you, I implore you to not make it a long statement, because you're going to get them lost in the weeds. There's going to be this and that. I feel this and you never do that. And it's easy to just go off somewhere and pull in different things and not stay focused on the specific instance that happened. Right? So talk about how you feel about it. I feel dismissed. I'm angry. I feel like you don't care about what I have to say. All right? And the next thing you want to do is ask for new behaviors. So this new behavior is pretty difficult, but I think that if you take this word for word, because maybe you don't know what it is that you want, but definitely spend some time figuring out how you want them to behave. When you give them some solid advice that you've put your mind to, you've given them some input, they should at least acknowledge it. I want you to at least acknowledge what I said. So I recommend you say something like this. I insist that you acknowledge what I said, and let's think through how to apply it to your life rather than dismissing it or moving on to a new problem. I insist that you acknowledge what I said, and let's think through how to apply my insight to your life rather than dismissing it or moving on to a new problem like I didn't say anything to you. Right? It's really important that you're not ignored, because it takes effort on your part to listen and think of a solution to your friend. It's like the bare minimum. bare minimum. So you want to be able to share that with them. You want to point out the behavior, say how you feel about it, and then ask for new behaviors. If they're not capable, then you have a decision to make. Like a decision was made for me in the relationship that I had. They weren't capable, and so we stopped talking to each other. And I'm just fine with that. I know that that is not how I want to be treated, and there are enough people in the world to ignore me anyway. I do not want to bring somebody who is supposed to be close and care for me to just hurt me, because rejection hurts. We're definitely afraid of that. It doesn't feel good. If you're not paying attention, you're constantly being rejected by this person. Come here, give me some ideas so I can just throw them in the trash. Ouch. But I'd like that you give this asshole a fair opportunity to recognize that they're doing this and they're having this impact on you. It's not quite clear to them that they're doing this. They might just be doing this. Because once upon a time, I was an asshole. I would ask people and I would just throw away their advice. And it didn't feel good to them. And I understand, because being on the other side of it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. But I didn't know I was doing it. And so if you want to create a relationship where you're built on honesty and everything, you have to give them an opportunity to hear what you have to say so that they can change their actions, so they can notice the impact that they're having on you. So once again, I'll say point out the behavior, say the feeling, and then ask for new behaviors. You might discover that they're going to be dismissive of your concerns if you say this, and you'll have that decision to make. Do you want to keep helping when they're not listening? Or do you want to stop helping? Or maybe even dissolve the relationship? Whatever you decide, I hope that you do what feels right for you. I'll be right back with the Answer Reddit question. Hey, this is Coach Lee Hopkins here. I just want to let you know that you're awesome and your feelings matter. I know the holidays are fast approaching, and if you're going home to a family to be surrounded by people who don't believe that your feelings matter, and you constantly get caught up in the fighting and the frustrations, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, the obligations that you have with family, I want to empower you to break those generational patterns of disdain and distrust. I will be releasing content from my masterclass, Friends with Family. This content from Friends with Family is going to help you develop skills to be more grounded in yourself so that you can actually connect with your family. You're going to learn to create more connecting and curious conversations. You'll also learn how to navigate high drama topics without getting drawn into a conflict. Now, this course is not going to fix deep-seated problems that you might have with your family members, and it won't heal any traumas that you've experienced. It's going to help you communicate more authentically, to empower you to have regular conversations and actually connect with your family. It's my sincere hope that more of us out there who are breaking those generational patterns to not just stop the pain from moving forward, but to really become friends with our family. If you want to be a part of this, check the link in the show notes. All right, now it's time for the Reddit friendship advice question. If you have a friendship advice question that you think I should answer, tag me in it on Reddit. My handle is Brilliant and Resilient. That's Brilliant, the letter N, Resilient. Am I wrong or overreacting? What if a friend of yours did this to you? I had this friend who always asked for my help, time, and presence. I was always there for her, even when it was uncomfortable for me. Also, whenever we had meetups, she always came hours late, which inconvenienced me. She always asked me to travel to their city, which takes around 2 hours, whenever we had to meet. And I did. I even attended one of her parties before, even though I didn't want to attend because very few people showed up at their party. She convinced me to attend and stay. She said that she only had very few friends, and there's like 3 or 4. She said I was the only one who was sure to attend. She always asked me to chat and always asked for advice for her problems. I always gave her my time despite having something important to do. Also, I used to buy her and her kids stuff like grocery items and food. Yesterday, she told me she would invite me to her kid's party in December if someone couldn't attend or canceled. They put me in the backup guest list. I didn't know about the party, but she brought this up. She said, I'm not a priority because they have a limited budget and they're prioritizing people with kids. I'm currently single and I got disappointed because one, my other friends who also have children, even on a limited budget, always include me in their kids' parties and I wasn't a substitute or an afterthought for them. And two, I was always there for her. Even when it was inconvenient for me, I always prioritized her, but I was only a backup and afterthought for her. So I said, I don't want to go to her kid's party because no one wants to be an afterthought or a substitute. I also said that I want to take a break from our friendship, and there's nothing wrong if I also adjust my priorities. I said that I want to invest my time and energy where I'll equally be reciprocated and appreciated. And she got upset with me and said she didn't see anything wrong with her decision and I shouldn't feel offended or upset. But am I wrong? Question mark, question mark. I feel like I was taken for granted by her. Okay. All right. I love this. And you know why I picked this? Because they're not sure if they're overreacting. The question mark. And it sounds like I don't think that they're overreacting. Your reactions are your reactions. They are how you feel about you and your experiences with other people. And you are feeling something. I mean, based on what I read here, you spend a lot of time and effort and energy into that person, hoping for it to be reciprocated. And you're thoughtful about the time. You do a lot of things that inconvenience you. And you hope that they would do the same, or at least recognize that. So this episode is about how we wanted to make sure that we are doing things that protect our energy, in the sense, because we're giving advice to people, we're pouring into people, and they're not using it. They're not interested in what we have to say or how we feel about our experiences with them when we connect to them. They don't appreciate the amount of time and energy that we put into giving them our attention. They don't appreciate that. So that's why I chose this, because it's a really great representation of that. Now, sure, they're not asking for advice for you and ignoring that advice, not to the specifics, but they are asking for your attention and they are not cherishing that, which is what you'd hope people would do. If you put that time and energy, it's a really great physical representation, because you drive miles and miles and you'll wait for hours and hours to meet this person and you'll be inconvenienced, and they don't recognize that. And so what I'd like to say to you is that, of course, you're not, wrong. You're not wrong. Your decision is fantastic. It is the best for you. And I'm sure you feel really great about that. However, if you've been listening to this podcast for a minute, it sounds like you are pouring into someone, expecting them to take care of your feelings, to recognize that you are doing so much for them. You're doing so much for them and they're going to treat you right. And it seems like you kind of woke up to that and you're like, oh, you're not going to treat me the way I want to be treated. I'm a substitute. How dare you? Do you know how much I do for you? That might be going through your head right now. Do you know how much time and energy and effort it takes to come see your stupid face? And understandably, you'd be upset about that. But it's your responsibility to protect your energy. It is your responsibility to protect your energy. People will just take it. They will just take your time and focus and energy, and they'll throw it all around if you're not paying attention. If it is something that you want from them, connection, collaboration, feel heard, understood, appreciated, accepted, then they aren't responsible for giving that to you. You're responsible for recognizing, this is where you become empowered. You're responsible for recognizing whether or not they're capable of meeting your needs. And the moment you recognize that they're not capable, you cut them off. Boom. It looks like what you're doing right now. Kudos to you. You're doing this thing. My worry and my concern a bit is that, well, you might find another relationship that looks like this. You might find another friendship that looks like this, where you're going out of your way to do things for people and hoping that they are going to be supportive of you and caring of you, and they're going to treat you the way you want to be treated. They're going to figure it out. But they're going to treat you how they're going to treat you. And you have to figure out if you like that or not, and be able to share that with them or not. Be able to share that with them, period. So that's my worry and that's my concern. And in order to make sure that you're not going to fall back into a situation like this, you're not going to find people who are going to treat you the way they want to treat you, and then you're going to put up with it. The actionable steps. I love to give actionable steps. The things that you really need to do is take some time to understand how you want to be treated. You got to spend some time to understand what are your green flags. Because we really look at the red flags so much. We don't want to be treated this way. We want to be treated that way. But even if we see those red flags flying up, like, oh man, I drove to her place. It was 2 hours away from me. And then I waited another 2 hours before she even came to see me. What? Hold on. You know what? That's a whole shift at a part-time job. 4 hours? Like, your time isn't precious. And not to mention the time that you have to drive back. Okay, I got a little upset there. I got a little upset myself. But you don't have to go through that experience a bunch of times, a million times. You already just have to know how you want to be treated. And the moment you see people not treating you the way you want, you leave. Also, you absolutely have to know how you want to be treated, how you want to feel when you're with those people. It seems like you felt like you were burdened by this person with the time and energy that you put in. And that might be a feeling that's normal to you in your relationships. Burdened, overburdened, busy, people constantly asking you to do things. You might also feel a little bit of joy in the sense that you get to be useful. This is why I want to caution you, because joy is what brings us to relationships with friendships, that gets us started. Like, I'm so happy to be able to do something for you, friend. And then you continue to do that thing for them. But that joy dissipates. I just want you to pay attention to that. That's all. So if you're feeling like that, if you notice that, it turns into burden as you people please. What I would hope that you would do is spend some time alone looking for those green flags, the behaviors that you want to see in other people. Not necessarily don't want to see. Like, I certainly don't want to wait 2 hours for a friend to show up. I want them to be on time. There's a green flag right there. Especially if I'm driving 2 hours to see them. They better be on time. I don't know what their excuse is. I don't care. I came to their city. Anyway, leave this person alone. Learn from the experience. Remember how you feel about spending so much time and energy in putting into someone, and then start focusing on you. What is it that you want to see from other people? What are the actions and behaviors that you want from other people? Write those down and make sure the next person that you encounter has those. That's going to help you stop creating relationships like this. Redditor, thank you so much for asking your question. I know that you didn't ask me to answer it, but I did, and I hope that it helps. Best of luck to you. Take care. My name is Coach Lee Hopkins, and you have been listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. You can find me at patternsofpossibility.com and on all social media at Patterns of Possibility. And as always, I want to encourage you to be yourself, live your truth, and there you'll make lasting friendships.